The mirror you never chose, and the formula that moves people. How you see yourself shapes everything you say, and how you say it shapes everything others believe. Yesterday, we uncovered something that cannot be ignored. You are communicating every single moment, whether you intended to or not. Your silence speaks, your posture speaks, even the way you breathe in a tense room sends a message. But today the question goes deeper, because it is not just about what you send out. It is about where your self-image came from in the first place, and whether the way you influence the people around you is truly working. Today, we bring two answers, one from a sociologist who studied human mirrors and one from a philosopher who mapped the human mind 2,300 years before we could scan it. Yesterday, we established something that cannot be undone. You are always communicating. Every silence, every look, every half answer, it all lands. It all shapes the way people experience you. But today, we go somewhere deeper. Because here's a question most people never stop to ask. Who are you? In the eyes of the people around you. And more importantly, how much of what you believe about yourself was actually built by those eyes? Today, we bring together two frameworks. One is barely a century old, the other was written 2,300 years ago. And together, they form the most complete picture we have of how human influence actually works. In 1902, the American sociologist Charles Cooley introduced a concept that quietly explains one of the most uncomfortable truths about the human mind. He called it the looking glass self. The idea is this: we do not build our self-image from the inside out. We build it from the outside in. We look at the people around us, their reactions, their judgments, their expressions, and we use them as a mirror. We see ourselves the way we imagine they see us. Cooley described three steps that happen almost automatically in every social interaction. First, we imagine how we appear to the other person. Then we imagine what judgment they are forming about us. And finally, based on that imagined judgment, we feel either pride or shame. Think about that for a moment. The imagine you carry of yourself right now, your confidence, your insecurities, the things you believe you are good at, and the things you believe you are not. A large part of that image was not formed by you. It was formed by accumulated reactions from people who may not have been paying close attention. Most of what you believe about yourself is not your own conclusion. It is a story written by other people's eyes and revised every time someone looks at you. In Morocco, this theory doesn't need much explaining. We lived it. From the moment we are old enough to walk into a room, we are taught explicitly or silently to be aware of the mirror. The family gathering where every cousin is compared, the neighborhood where your family's reputation travels faster than your name, the school where a teacher's single comment in front of the class could define how you saw yourself for years, and above all, the phrase that shaped a generation. شنو غادي يقولوا الناس? What will people say? Those four words carry the full weight of the looking glass self. They teach us from a very young age that the mirror of others is more real than our own internal voice. This is not a criticism of Moroccan culture. Every culture has its version of this mirror. But understanding it is urgent, because if you never examine the reflection you have been handed, you will spend your entire life performing for an audience that may not even be watching anymore. You will make decisions based on a mirror that was built for you by people whose approval you no longer even seek. The most dangerous prison is the one built from other people's opinions, because it has no visible walls. Now, here is where everything connects. Once you understand that people are constantly forming judgments about you through the mirror, the question becomes, how do you speak to them in a way that actually reaches them? How do you influence, persuade, and connect with another human being in a way that is honest, effective, and lasting? In the 4th century BC, Aristotle gave us the answer. He identified three fundamental elements that every act of genuine persuasion must contain. He called them ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is your credibility. It is not your title or your credentials. It is the answer to the question the other person is asking before you even begin. Can I trust this person? Do they mean what they say? Is their character consistent with their words? Ethos is who you are before you open your mouth. Pathos is emotional connection. It is not manipulation. It is the ability to genuinely understand what the other person is feeling and to speak so that feeling with honesty. People do not make decisions based on information alone. They make decisions based on how that information makes them feel. Pathos is the bridge between your words and another person's heart. Logos is the logic, the structure, the evidence behind what you say. It is the part that gives your message weight and credibility. Without logos, even the most emotionally powerful speech collapses under scrutiny. Ethos without pathos is cold authority. Pathos without logos is empty emotion. Logos without ethos is untrustworthy data. The three exist to complete each other. For centuries, Aristotle's model was respected as philosophy. Today, it is confirmed by neuroscience. A 2024 meta-analysis found that Aristotle's three pillars map almost perfectly onto how the modern brain processes persuasion. Ethos activates the brain's trust and safety circuits, the parts that decide whether to lower their guard. Pathos activates the emotional memory system, the part that makes information stick. Logos activates the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center that evaluates and concludes. A study published in the Journal of Communication in 2023 found that speakers who combined all three elements were rated significantly more credible, more likable, and more persuasive than those who relied on only one or two. And the effect was not subtle, it was measurable, consistent, and replicated across cultures. What Aristotle described in ancient Greece was not rhetoric. It was a map of the human brain, written 2,300 years before we had the look to scan it. So here's where this lands in your daily life. Think about the last time you tried to convince someone of something. Your partner, your boss, a friend. Which pillar were you standing on? Were you leading with logic, facts, arguments, reasons, and wondering why they were not moving? That is logos alone. Without the other two, the brain received the information but felt no trust and no emotional connection. Or were you emotional, passionate, urgent, even pleading, but without the structure of evidence to back it up? That is pathos. Without logos, it creates intensity but not conviction. And ethos, the hardest one, is being built right now. In every conversation you have, every commitment you keep or break, every moment when your behavior either matches or contradicts your words, you cannot turn ethos on for an important meeting and turn it off the rest of the time. It is not a switch, it is a daily practice. The person who masters all three doesn't convince people. They make people feel so understood, so respected, and so clearly informed that agreeing feels natural. It feels like their own choice, because it is. Genuine influence never feels like pressure, it feels like clarity. Here's what these two frameworks, Cooley's mirror and Aristotle's pillars, are really saying together. You have been shaped by the mirrors of others. Much of your self-image, your confidence, your fears, they were built from borrowed reflections. And you have been trying to influence others without always knowing which language actually reaches them. But awareness changes everything. Once you see the mirror for what it is, once you understand that you can choose which reflections to believe and which to release, You begin to rebuild your self-image from the inside, from your own values, your own judgment, your own chosen story. And once you understand ethos, pathos, and logos not as techniques but as a way of respecting the full humanity of the person in front of you, you stop trying to win arguments. You start creating understanding. The most persuasive people in history were never the cleverest. They were the most honest, the most present, and the most deeply aware of who they were speaking to. So, tomorrow we talk about something that is happening in your conversations right now, silently, invisibly, and it is doing more damage to your relationships than any argument you have ever had. It is not what you say, it is not even what you don't say. It is something else entirely, a habit so common that most people carry it for decades without ever realizing it. It has a name, and once you know that name, you will start noticing it everywhere, in your home, at work, in yourself. See you then.